going to the Atari VCS. So I just wanted to
Talking about
raise.
cool.
Wow, cool! It's cool, dude. In the 80s, look, I just want to raise this. This is not news in terms of the Atari VCS is coming out, but we're just talking about
It's
Australia and
coming out.
things
Yeah, right.
not coming out in Australia, but it is coming out in Australia. This thing, which I was kind of surprised about, and we saw confirmation from one of our local distributors. The equivalent of a GameStop in America, EB Games over in Australia, that the Atari VCS is coming to Australia, and the whole bundle. So that's got the classic controller, the modern controller, and the base unit. It's going to be 850 Australian dollars. Thoughts, Swinny?
I was just trying to bring the listing up, but it's made me do that. Please click on each image containing a boat. So just let me. Okay, that's a boat. 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 That's a boat.
Oh, you're
Wait,
getting
they're
like
all they're all
blocked.
boats. Oh no, that's a canoe. Actually, I've selected like three canoes instead of boats.
The
Okay, that's
machine's
a
probably
boat. That's a
better at
boat.
it.
That's a boat. That's a canoe. That's a boat. Okay, I should be through now. Oh no, it's bugger that. All right. All I was gonna say is I looked at the listing earlier. It's refreshed it now. It's asking for trains, so I'm like bugger that. I was looking at the listing earlier, but I wanted to bring it up again because
Mm,
doesn't it still say on there like it doesn't give any dates or anything, and it's like such a
yeah,
vague time frame?
yeah. Supposed to come
It's
out
like
this year. They reckon it will come out this year, but
that's
it does.
so
It's very weird.
you're putting up $800 listings for something that you haven't even got a date for. That's ridiculous to me. Like that isn't let's say Xbox, PlayStation, like those are things that I can kind of understand because
Mm,
pretty certain those things are going to come out, or they're going to deliver on what you expect them to. This thing is a whole. The VCS is just a mess, and
it's weird, right?
who who's going to spend $800 on this? Like seriously,
Well,
to to
that's kind
play to
of
play what's basically a PC in a way. Like there's a whole mode. What they call sandbox mode or whatever in this thing.
yeah, that's right. They literally call it sandbox mode, which is like they're not even trying to dress it up.
Oh man, like I love like my first video game console was an Atari, right? 7800 or whatever it's no or 5800, whatever, right? It was one of the classic Atari consoles.
Probably would have
My
been the
first
2600. I doubt it would have been the other ones.
okay, 20 whatever, right? I'm clearly knowledgeable, just randomly bringing it up, but
You should have a podcast about gaming. So on top of it,
well, we don't position ourselves as retro gaming. I wouldn't say I don't anyway. You may half the topics have been retro, but the thing for me, like, so I have love for that era of gaming. A lot of those games are absolutely terrible, but they were the only thing you had. I just don't see the appeal of this one. I really don't. Atari's obviously a very weird company. They're basically a licensing company these days. They've got their hotels, they've got their Atari Bitcoin, whatever their thing is, and they had the radio, the Atari like speaker hats or something. I just don't
yeah, that's right.
understand. I just do not
The headphones, I
understand
think.
Atari anymore. They're just oh,
Well, it's not Atari, right? Like it's a company that's bought the rights to call themselves Atari and
yeah.
release things. And yeah, I think my only comment about this that I thought was odd is, I kind of get this in America. You probably, it's like 350 million people there. Atari was huge back in the day in America, and you got to get a certain percentage of people buying this, and I don't get it. It's silly to me. But Australia is a little bit different. Like we did have Atari. I'm the same as you, 2600. I remember there was a mouse game. It was like a Pac-Man clone, but it was like mice and rats and stuff like that. And I just remember it was the first game I ever
So
played.
so interesting. I actually had 2600 Junior. That one looked so much cooler than the normal 2600.
I don't know what that is, so I'm just
So
checking it out
look
now.
up look up 2600 Junior, and it had like the metal with the
Oh
color across
yeah,
it. That's
no,
that's the one that I
I
had.
like the 2600. You like the junior
That
more?
look, the Junior looked so much cooler, man. And it had
No,
the
I like
buttons
the
were like these
2600. It
buttons that you
looks
click down. It was really cool.
yeah, I kind of like the aesthetic. Like, and by the way, with the VCS, I think it looks cool in the renders. Whether it will look like that, like in real life, I doubt it, to be honest. Um, yeah, it's just, I don't really get it in Australia, especially because it just wasn't as big in Australia as you know, because it was different. We didn't have like a video game crash like they did in the States, because everything came out later, and then the NES came out over here, and that was really big when we were growing up. It was Mousetrap. That was the game, the very first game I ever played, that I
What?
remember. Yeah,
Wait,
so
Mousetrap video game.
I
Was it
don't think it's
based
the.
off the? Was it based off the board game?
Well, let me just confirm this.
I mean, that's probably not. But I'm just like
No,
Mousetrap.
well,
That's
I
a
don't think
board
it's
game.
based on the. Yeah, this is definitely the game that I played. Yeah. So you play as a mouse and you're running around, and then like cats are chasing you. It's 100% a Pac-Man clone, and I'm just looking at it. No, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with the board game.
Oh no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I should actually buy this. This is kind of like a cute thing to buy, isn't it? But yeah, like so all I was coming from is it just doesn't have the same nostalgia value in Australia as I would imagine it would have in the US. And we're already such a small market, and this is just an odd item. Like I'm actually when I go to EB next time, I'm gonna ask them and just keep
Oh
asking
yeah.
them about how is this selling? Because man, you couldn't imagine it would be that much, right? Surely.
Not to discredit, there's obviously some people that work at the EB Games that do know their stuff, but I can tell you, I'm pretty confident most of them have no idea what the Atari VCS is that are
Yeah,
working
look,
in the stores themselves.
so I think I'm fairly nice to people, and what you're saying is 100% true because, dude, like I go and talk to them about stuff that's massive, like, hey, Animal Crossing, the console, how they've got a themed console special edition for the Switch, and they're like, oh, I don't even know what that is. What are you talking about? I'm like, what? This is like one of the biggest games of the year, and you don't even know what I'm talking about? Like, I feel like
I
if you
think
work at a game store, you should know that.
I think sometimes, like, there's one in Melbourne, that's it's basically, I guess, you've
The
got like the
flagship
EB
one in the
Games,
city.
yeah, yeah, and then you got like the upper level, it's like Nintendo one, and I don't know if technically if the people working in the Nintendo section are EB Games employees and Nintendo employees, but
Hmm.
generally when I've spoken to people there in the past, they've actually known their stuff,
Yeah,
so
they're really good,
that's
that
a bit
one
of
in
a
the
different
flagship
setup.
store. Yeah,
Yeah,
like they don't have a flagship store in Sydney, which is kind of annoying because I'd like if they had that up here. But yeah, in Melbourne they have a really good one, but in Sydney there's nothing like that. Like the Melbourne one's the best one in the country that I've seen. But yeah, we don't have one like that. So yeah, this Atari VCS, I don't get it. I'm definitely not buying it. I just don't know who this is for. It's very boggling to me, mind-boggling that this is really a thing.
it's going to go as well as the Coleco Chameleon.
Yeah, I think I'll leave that to other podcasters that we listen to for them to go on rants about because it's not interesting to me.